Welcome to 5% Radio, where it's all about learning like no one else today so you can live like no one else tomorrow. Please be sure to share and subscribe. Hey guys, what's up and welcome back to another episode of 5% Radio. In the last episode, I talked about time management. I talked about Stephen Covey's matrix of time management, things that are urgent and important, things that are important but not urgent, things that are not urgent but important, and things that are not urgent and not important. So if you have not listened to episode 13, go ahead and go back and listen to that because each episode is important. I'm not just kind of, hopping on the microphone here and just riffing off the top of my head like, oh, what do I think would be helpful? I really try to plan these episodes out in order. So today, now that we've talked about time management and what are the right things that you should be doing and what order should you prioritize things, and there's some really great nuggets in there towards the end of that episode. So if you've not checked it out, go back and listen to it. But today in episode 14, I want to talk to you about the only thing that is better than motivation, and that is discipline. So most people will say things like, well, I don't feel motivated, or I'm unmotivated, or I'm waiting for the motivation to start X. When I feel motivated, I will start doing fill in the blank. And the problem with that is motivation is a feeling. It passes. So I heard one guy say that fill in the blank, love, motivation, whatever is like a feeling, and it's like gas. It just kind of passes. It comes and it goes. So the issue with motivation is that you're waiting on something that you really can't control. But you know what you can control? You can control discipline. Oh, brother, we're going to talk about discipline. I've heard this before. This isn't going to help me. I lack discipline. I'm just the kind of person. People in my family aren't disciplined. I'm the kind of person that I just don't like discipline. I'd rather be spontaneous and this and that. Well, discipline equals freedom. Let me get a couple quotes here to get the episode started, and then we will actually get into the subject matter. So number one is that discipline equals freedom. This is something that you frequently hear Jocko Willink. If you're not familiar with that guy, he is big in the jiu-jitsu world, and also he has a whole supplement company, but he's a phenomenal guy. He used to be a Navy SEAL. He wrote a book called Extreme Ownership, but one of the things that he says is discipline equals freedom. Another quote here by Jim Rohn is that discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Then we have another one by Alan Valentine. He says, freedom is born of self-discipline. No individual, no nation can achieve or maintain liberty without self-control. And I like the way he ends this quote. Listen to this. The undisciplined man or woman is a slave to his own weakness. And lastly, if you'll be the toughest boss you've ever had, you'll be the richest employee you've ever met. So why is discipline so important? Why does discipline equal freedom? Discipline equals freedom because if you are undisciplined, and I'm waiting on motivation, I'm waiting until I feel like it, and again, refer back to the episode, I believe it's episode 2, where I talked about thoughts, feelings, actions, results. That might have been episode 1. Let me just do a brief check here. I want to make sure that I'm referencing the right episodes. Yeah, episode number 1 was thoughts, feelings, actions, results. So it was TFAR. Understanding this is the first key to all lasting change. So if you've not listened to episode 1, that is going to be extremely important for you to understand everything that I talk about here. So listen to that either right after this, or if you want to pause this and go back to episode 1 and just kind of get a refresher on that, that would be great to kind of lay some groundwork, a foundation for this episode to build on in episode number 14. But discipline equals freedom, because the more disciplined you are, the more structure you have in your life, really the more freedom you have. Okay, so how does this make sense? So think about this. If you had a schedule that was 24/7, 365 different every single day, how in the world would you be able to have any structure, and how would you be able to have any willpower in saying, I'm going to wake up and get this done today? Because you wouldn't know what time it was going to happen. You wouldn't know how long it was going to take. You wouldn't know any of that. Going back to episode 13, talking about scheduling things based on your priorities and managing your time. If you have no discipline in your life, you waste so much time. But more than that, you lose freedom because of your lack of discipline. Some people think that spontaneity and me not living by a calendar really gives me more freedom, but in reality it doesn't, because if you only have 24 hours a day and you only have a certain amount of things that you can do every single day, every week, every month, every year, every decade in your lifetime, if I only have a certain amount of things that I can do and only have a certain amount of time to do that, and I am completely spontaneous all the time, I never actually schedule things, something that I could have done today might get pushed back until tomorrow, And if you do that enough, I've wasted days, weeks, months, years being unproductive because I'm undisciplined. And I'm lying to myself by saying, well, I have more freedom because I'm not disciplined, I'm not structured, but actually lacking structure and lacking discipline, not running your life by a calendar, does not equal freedom. It actually brings you into captivity for that weakness. Notice what Alan Valentine said at the end. That's kind of a fun name to say, isn't it? Alan Valentine. Anyway, at the end of his quote, he said, "The undisciplined man or woman is a slave to his own weakness." The undisciplined man or woman is a slave to his own weakness. So if you're not disciplined, the area that you are undisciplined in will be your Achilles heel. It will pull you down. It will be the weak link in the chain. And if you want to look at this from I always bring things back to just the most easily relatable things, such as relationships, health, finances, whatever else. If I'm undisciplined, AKA if I take the easy way out now, just like I talked about in episode 11, picking your hard in life, be careful with this. If I take the easy way out now, life will get harder. If I take the hard way out now, life will get easier. If I choose to be undisciplined now, let's say, for example, in my marriage, if I choose to be undisciplined, I don't bridle my tongue, I don't control what I think about how I talk to other women. Let's just say, for example, I don't control my eyes, what I look at. I don't control any of that stuff. I'm totally undisciplined. I do what I want to. If my flesh wants it, if I desire it, I go do it. I don't want to be structured. I don't want to have someone tell me what to do. I'm going to do what I want. There's a consequence for that. So my discipline actually brings me into bondage of my bad habits, of my weaknesses, of the things that I allow into my life. My lack of discipline will not bring freedom. It won't bring fun and spontaneity and, oh, this is going to be great. Short term, you're like, yeah, I feel way more free. Long term, it's going to bring me into bondage. I will be a slave to my own weakness. How about health? Well, if you're undisciplined in your health, you might only be 40 or 50 years old, but you might end up with a serious medical condition that takes away your ability to exercise, that takes away your ability to eat certain foods, that takes away, you'll go from your doctor saying, well, you should probably walk more and you might want to eat a little bit less red meat thing, your doctor's, and I'm not going to say that I subscribe to that at all, but I'm just saying if you went to see a medical doctor, they would say, well, you need to walk more, you need to exercise more, you should probably eat less of this and more of that. And then if I'm undisciplined still, the next time I go in, they say, look, you need to start doing this 5 days a week. You need to get on this type of medication. You need to start exercising this much. You need to restrict your calories to this. You need to cut out all of this food. So now my lack of discipline actually has cost me more because I wasn't willing to be disciplined when I got the first warning. And then down the road, now I end up in a hospital bed or in a nursing home way earlier than I needed to be, eating terrible nursing home or hospital food. A little side note here, if you work in a nursing home or hospital cafeteria, I'm not trying to bag on your food, but I've just never been to a hospital or nursing home that I was like, man, this is way better than anything I've ever had at a restaurant. So anyway, moving on. If you work there, not trying to offend you, not a big deal. But if that is what you choose to do in your life, you choose to be so undisciplined that it will catch up with you 100%. For example, today my car is getting an oil change, getting tires rotated, all that kind of stuff. Now, for those of you out there that are mechanics, that's like I can change my own oil. I really don't like to. I would rather pay someone to do that. But that being said, if I choose to be undisciplined, well, I don't want to have I don't want to lose the freedom to have my car for those 3 or 4 hours that it's going to take for me to drop it off and pick it up with my schedule and blah. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's what is that going to cost me? See, if you take it and you apply it to basic areas like your health, if I'm undisciplined with my health, we all know long term that if I eat Big Macs and ice cream every single day of my life with pizza for breakfast and bacon for a snack between every meal, we know there's a bad consequence to that down the road. We know that my lack of discipline will not bring me freedom, but short term, people will say, well, my lack of discipline, my desire to just get off work and just if I want to watch TV or play a video game or whatever else every night of the week, I don't want to have to make plans. I don't want to book appointments. I don't want to do anything that I don't want to have to do. Just let me do what I want to do now. Well, I'm not trying to be harsh here, but that's what kids do. Kids do what they want when they want. The difference between a child and an adult is a child does what they want when they want. They have no responsibility and they don't actually ever step up and say, you know what, I'm going to do stuff that I don't feel like doing for the long term. So if you're still in your 30s, 40s, 50s, 20s, I don't care if you're in your 60s or 70s. See, growing up, you will age by default, but maturity is a choice. Personal growth is a choice. Growing in your thinking is a choice. You'll meet people that are in their 70s and 80s. The Bible talks about gray hair is the crown of wisdom, but people think literally, oh, if they have gray hair, they must be wise. I have met some of the most I'm trying to say this respectfully. I've met some of the most willingly ignorant. I'll say that's a nice way to put it, but they've stayed willingly ignorant in so many areas, even though they're in their 70s, 80s. Now, are there things they can teach me? Absolutely, because they do have more life experience in some areas, but do not make the mistake of saying, well, if they have 30 years, 40 years, 50 years, they've done that job for 55 years. They might have done that job for 55 years, but it might be the same year 55 times in a row. So you could be married for 2 years and have more experience than someone who's married for 10 years because you've been actively working on it. I can go into the gym tomorrow if I'm a completely untrained person. If I have the discipline to push myself, to drive, to read articles, to watch videos, to listen to podcasts, to maintain a healthy diet, to get a coach, to watch my form, to take videos, to track everything I do, if I have the discipline in that, that will give me freedom, because 2 years after working that hard, doing things that I do not feel like doing, let me be very clear here. Discipline is not doing things that you feel like doing on the off days that you might not feel. Discipline is I made a decision once and I choose to stick with that decision. Discipline is saying this is who I am, this is what I do, this is the right thing. I don't care how I feel today. I don't care if I woke up, quote unquote, on the wrong side of the bed. By the way, you choose your attitude. Abraham Lincoln said, as a man is about as happy as he makes up his mind to be. So please don't ever give me that I woke up on the wrong side of the bed. But if you're disciplined, you do things that you don't feel like doing every single day. This morning, my alarm went off at 5:59. I did not feel like getting up, okay? I have an alarm that goes off 5:59, 6, 6:01, 6:02, 6:03, 6:04, 6:10, 6:15, 6:30, because there have been days where I act on my feelings. What? You still act on your feelings? Yes, I'm like, I don't have the motivation to get up today. I still act on my feelings. You will still fall prey to this. Nobody's a robot. We all have downfalls. We all have things that, okay, my best intentions, and then you fail. And most of us are comparing our intentions with everyone else's actions. So we look at someone who drops the ball and we say that my intention is to be 100% congruent with the disciplined person all the time. Discipline is who I am. This is what I do. And you compare your intention to someone else's actions. Well, I can't believe my training partner didn't show up at the gym. They slept in. They're so lazy, but they didn't see the day that you were like, hey, you want to go to the gym? And they're like, I can't make it today. And you slept in and didn't go, but you never told them. They don't see the lack of discipline in your life, but we judge other people for the lack of discipline in their life at times. That might not be you, but most of us will judge people based on their actions, and we'll judge ourselves based on our intentions. Another way of putting that is we will look at other people's outsides and compare them to our insides. Well, this is who I intend to be. But look at who they actually are. This is who I think I am. And then you look at who someone else actually is being, and you say, well, my intentions are better than their actions. And the truth is that discipline is what the action is. It's not your intention. It's not your feeling. It's not what you think you'll do. It's what do you actually do with your life. The undisciplined man or woman is a slave to his own weaknesses. The difference between discipline and motivation is that discipline is not based on your feelings. It's not based on the side of the bed that I woke up on. It's not based on how I feel that day. I woke up this morning. I snoozed my alarm. I snoozed my alarm. I snoozed my alarm until 6:08. Then I actually got out of bed, put on my gym clothes, went out, started the car. It's cold. Brushed my teeth, washed my face, grabbed my natural energy drink that I have in the morning, and I headed out the door and I went and did some terrible conditioning at the gym that sucked, super bad, burned, my lungs were hurting, it was miserable. And then when I was done, here's the thing about discipline. When you actually follow through on what you said, you are building your self-image. You are building self-confidence, because what I said I would do is what I actually did. See, if you say you'll do something, oh yeah, I'll do that, and then you don't do it, if you do that enough to someone else, if I tell my spouse enough times, yeah, I'm going to get better with our finances, and we're going to start doing a date night every week, and I'm going to try to change and be a better husband, and I'm a terrible husband now, and I say that, it brings up my wife's hope. If I've never said it before, if I've never failed, she's like, oh, he's changing. And then I drop down, and I drop the ball again. And I don't apologize, and then I get all excited, and I'm motivated, and I'm like, I'm so motivated to have a better marriage, and I come in and I say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do this and this, and I'm going to quit doing this and start doing that, and I'm going to change, and then I don't feel like it, and I drop back down, because I'm acting on my emotions, and I'm incongruent with what I'm saying. So if my words are incongruent with my spouse, I lose trust with my spouse. If my words are incongruent meaning I said one thing and I did another, there's not congruency. Congruency meaning what they said is what they did, okay? If what I said is different than what I did, I lose trust with that person, whether it's my spouse, my boss, a business partner, anything else. I don't know if you have a job, if you run your own company, whatever else. But if I tell one of my clients, hey, I'm going to have this done by Friday, and then I don't have it done. And then I talk to another person that I'm in business with, and I say, hey, look, I'm going to do this meeting Saturday evening. We can go there. And then they show up and they're drinking coffee on their own. And I'm like, hey, I totally forgot. If I do that enough times, I lose trust with those people. If I do that enough times with myself, I lose trust with myself. So discipline is kind of a two-sided coin, okay? And I was going to say it's a double-edged sword, but that has kind of a negative connotation. But it's a two-sided coin, meaning on the one side, I said something and I did it because I didn't feel like it. So I'm disciplined. I'm willing to impose structure on myself even when I don't have the feeling of motivation. So I'm moving forward in a direction, even though I really, if you look at short term, I don't want to go in that direction. Long term, again, consistent action in the same direction with short term goals and long term vision. Long term, it's bringing me to where I want to go. Short term, I don't want to get out of bed at 6 a.m. I did not want to roll out at 6:08, put on gym clothes, brush my teeth. Like nothing about that process, the conditioning, the driving to the gym, nothing about that process was fun. But when I get in the car and I start driving to the gym, even though I still don't feel like it, it still sucks. But while I'm in that process, I am proving to myself that what Jesse says is what Jesse does. Who he says he is, what he represents, is actually what he does. Another way to say this is you practice what you preach. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You can never out-talk your walk, by the way. I don't care what you tell people, what you tell yourself, what you write down for goals. You can never, I can't go look in the mirror and be like, I'm going to make $1 million a year. And then I sleep in until 11 o'clock every day. And then I watch TV until 4. And then I eat junk food, skip the gym, and play video games until 9 p.m. And I'm like, I'll do it tomorrow. My brain's like, no, you won't. That's not going to happen. So it builds a congruency principle. It builds a self-confidence within you because what I said is what I do. Going back to the example with my spouse. If I told my wife, hey, we're going to have a date night every Thursday night, and we had a date night this Thursday, and we had a date night next Thursday, and the Thursday after, and the Thursday after. Eventually, if I tell her that I'm going to do something else, that trust will bleed over into a different area in a good way. I told her that we would have a date night for these 4 or 5 Thursdays in a row. We did that Thursday 1, Thursday 2, Thursday 3, Thursday 4, Thursday 5. Now, if I say, hey, you know what? I think we could hit this financial goal by the end of the year. Now, what I said is what I did 5 times in a row. Now there's a little more trust established with her, and it works the same way with ourselves. If I tell myself that I'm going to wake up at this time and go to the gym, if I tell myself I'm going to cut this amount of weight, if I tell myself I'm going to make this much money by the end of the year, if I tell myself I'm going to develop this habit every day, if I tell myself I'm going to become this kind of person, I'm going to have the structure in my life to actually do the habits that will reap that reward, reap that result, and I do them, that builds on itself. See, if you sow a habit, you reap a result. If you sow a habit, you reap character. If you sow a habit and you reap character long enough, you'll reap destiny. If I say I'm going to do something and I do it, I'm going to begin to build character with myself. If I do that long enough, that character will determine my destiny. By that, I mean where I ultimately will end up going in my dash. There's a date on your gravestone. When you die, there will be a date when you were born, and there will be a date when you died. People will walk by that stone, and I'm not saying that you need to build a monument for insert your family name here, and this, our money's going to live on for generations, and people are going to know who we were. I really don't necessarily care about any of that, but I do care about the impact that I have, what I do with my life, because it does matter to every single person that I ever meet, and I do mean every single person that I ever meet. What I choose to do with my life, good, bad, if I choose to work hard, if I choose to be lazy, if I choose to be a great, loving person, if I choose to be a jerk, if I choose to be a good influence, a bad influence, if I choose to make money or I choose to be a mooch and just borrow money constantly from people, those things do matter. So that dash, that little thing in your life, what determines what you will do with that is discipline in every area. So going back to what I said a second ago about things bleeding over into different areas of your life, things will bleed over. My self-confidence or lack thereof, my lack of self-confidence will bleed over from one area to another. So discipline equals freedom applied to every single aspect of my life. And if I want more freedom, then I need to get more discipline. It's a I don't know, my voice is cracking today. I promise I'm not going through puberty a second time, but This is a virtuous cycle. The more discipline I have, the more freedom I have. If I'm disciplined in my health, I have more freedom in my health. I live longer, I feel better, I have more energy, I sleep better, I can keep off weight, I don't have crazy medical conditions that happen. I don't have to go spend more money to buy more clothing. I don't have to go do any of that kind of stuff. I can have more fun with my kids. I can have a longer, better, more fulfilled life because I'm healthy. I can do the things that I'm called to do. If God gives me a burden to go somewhere and do something that requires physical labor and I've been disciplined in my health, I can help. If I'm burdened, quote unquote, I wish I could help, and I'm 415 pounds because I've been completely undisciplined. And I'm not picking on someone if this is where your health is at, but understand that everything is a choice. You can tell me it's genetics, it's this, or this medication messes with things. I understand that. But at the same time, in episode 15, I'm going to talk about killing the yabbits. And that will definitely be an episode that you want to tune into if you struggle with this at all. And if you don't struggle with this, you'll get nuggets to share with other people. So I'll talk about killing yabbits in your next episode. But if I'm 415 pounds, and I would love to go help someone with something, but I can't because my knees are shot because I've been undisciplined in my health for so long that everything I want to do I can't help with because I'm so physically broken down. That's my fault. That is my fault. I need to go look in the mirror and say, this is my responsibility to fix. I got myself here. Only I can get me out. Discipline comes with the harsh reality that I have to be a grown-up and make grown-up decisions, understanding that every single decision I make has a consequence, good or bad. So let's talk about emotions and feelings versus discipline, and we will put a bow on this. So if I act on my emotions, I do what I want to. Again, I take the easy way out now, things get harder later on, okay? Take the easy way out, things get harder later on. I do what I want to, I wait on motivation, and I'm going to continue doing things that I feel like doing because it's easier, it feels good, makes me happy, and this is how most people live their lives. They're unsuccessful financially. They have terrible relationships as far as marriage. 5% of people do not do this. 95%, the masses of people do this. They have terrible relationships, meaning that they are not happy. They don't have fulfilling, deep, people actually know who you are. You could call someone at midnight and they would be there. Most people don't have those kinds of friends because they're undisciplined in their relationships. It takes time to build a strong relationship. It takes effort. It takes me biting my tongue when someone says something stupid because I don't want to take a withdrawal from the emotional bank account of that relationship. I have to deposit. I have to do what I say over and over and over and over and over again for a very, very, very long time. That is a discipline because if I drop the ball after I've done that for 2 or 3 years, I've put enough deposits in that they understand I care about them. We're friends. I want what's best for them. So I can drop the ball here and there. I'm not saying you can never make a mistake because we all do. I don't care if you think you're perfect, you still make mistakes. We all make mistakes, sometimes intentional, sometimes unintentional, but we all let people down, including ourselves. So I can have deep relationships. I can have a great marriage. I can have great finances. I can have great health. I can have great results in all of these areas if I'm willing to be disciplined, which means I'm not acting on my emotions. For example, my wife and I have some things going on right now financially that are extremely exciting. There's great prospect of what is coming in the future, but I have to continue doing what I'm doing if I want that to grow, if I want that to continue to be a good thing. I have to continue actually pushing, doing things that I don't feel like, waking up earlier so I can get in the gym so I have more time to devote to this project. I have to do certain things in my life to actually move an area forward, even when I don't feel like it. So that is discipline versus the emotion and the feeling, thoughts, feelings, actions, results, episode 1, go check that out, versus the feeling of saying, I don't feel like it today. If I act on my feelings, I'm just going to tell you flat, and this is not a joke. If I acted on my feelings, I could have fast food of some sort, ice cream, Krispy Kreme donuts, and probably Little Debbie's Swiss rolls. And some of you are like, that is disgusting. Oh, and probably Chipotle. I could have Chipotle with an absolutely unholy amount of sour cream and cheese on it. I could do that every single, like an ideal day for me would be to wake up, go work out because I enjoy working out now. I've done it so long that I enjoy it. I don't enjoy the process of waking up early, but I do enjoy when I'm actually in the gym most of the time outside of conditioning and some other stuff that is just absolutely terrible. No matter how great a shape you're in, if you push yourself in the gym to the point where your heart is absolutely redlining, and if you have a heart or medical condition, little disclaimer, I don't recommend doing that. But if you're healthy enough to do that, and you're absolutely killing yourself in the gym, it sucks, period. But if I could wake up every day, go to the gym, and then come home, have donuts for breakfast, have ice cream with dinner, have Jersey Mike's and Wendy's and Taco Bell and McDonald's, and like I am a fat kid at heart. I was a fat little kid, and I still have photographic evidence of that. But if I could eat absolute garbage every single day, that would be wonderful. I love movies. I could go for watching movies every single night with my wife. Some of my friends, actually, some of the people that listen to this know me super well, and I quote movies a lot. Not because I watch a lot of movies now, but because I did my fair share of watching enough movies as a kid that I can quote them off. I can make references. I can make jokes. And, oh, remember this scene when he said this and he looked at him this, like, I love movies. But I don't watch them all the time. I love junk food, but I don't eat it all the time. I love buying things. I love buying things. I love going to a store and leaving with something that I wanted that I didn't have. I love vehicles. There's a certain car that I have my eye on, the exact trim package, everything, like the color, trim package, engine, horse, like everything, the stitching on the seats. I know exactly what I want. I've mentioned it several times on this show, but I know exactly what I want. But the discipline says, act against the feelings. Wait, to go back to episode 10. It was 10 Principles of Financial Management by a $100 million businessman. I have to wait because I am disciplined to say, it's not about what I want now. It's not about what I can do. It's about what I should do. If you do not what you can do, but what you should do consistently over time, over and over and over again, rather than saying I have to wait on motivation to do the right thing. If you wait on motivation to do the right thing, how often is that going to happen? That would be like if your car said, you know what, on days where the weather is nice and we are driving on a flat surface or downhill, I will run perfectly for you. Like if your car's talking to you and your car's like, Master, if it's a nice day outside and it's dry and you want to drive on a flat road or go down a hill, I will run perfectly. But so help me, if it is cold, hailing, raining, snowing, and we're going up a hill, or if any of those one things is happening, I will run like garbage, and I hope you understand. That wouldn't work out. If you are in management and one of your employees calls you, I got this so many times. Oh, I'm sick today, and I'm like, their frequency of getting sick is super high because they were just sick like 3 days ago. Try to get them to come in. Then on Facebook, they're like, yeah, they're at the bar, like taking shots. I'm like, well, you probably are going to be sick tonight after doing that. Like you're probably going to call off tomorrow as well because they acted on their feelings. And then here was the kicker. Every single time that happened, they'd get their paycheck and they'd be like, they'd come to me like, my paycheck is short. This can't be right. And I'm like, you remember when you called off? Because I don't know if we had this agreement in writing, but you get paid to work hours. And if you don't work hours, you don't get paid. And they'd be like, then they would try to pick up extra shifts and swap with people. And can I work extra? And I'm like, you're supposed to clock out an hour ago. And they're like, yeah. And they're trying to squeeze an extra time on a Saturday or something. They acted on their feelings, lack of discipline, and it came back to bite them. Now they have less money because they wanted to go out Friday evening. It's going to be great. We're going to have a good time. Lack of discipline comes back to bite them. Every single time. If you own a business and I say, you know what, I'm just going to take the day off and hang out with my family every once in a while, that may be okay. Now, if you have a B-type business that I talked about in episodes 4 and 5, if you have a B-type business, and you can probably take just about as much time off as you want to, but because a real B-type business, you can be gone for 6 months and the business not only sustains, but really it should grow in its top-line revenue and in its profits. So if you have a B-type business, absolutely step away, take a vacation, do whatever else. There's a guy that wrote a book called A Month in Italy. His name is Chris Braden. He has a B-type business asset to where he could literally just go spend a month, 30 full days in a different country and his business grew. But if you don't, if you're a self-employed person or if you're employed by someone else, you can't be like, forget that, nerds to them, I'm taking 30 days off. It's not going to go well. Your lack of discipline will always come back to bite you. So in review, freedom is born of self-discipline. No individual, no nation can achieve or maintain liberty without self-control. The undisciplined man or woman is a slave to his own weakness. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. And lastly, discipline equals freedom. It either comes from within or it comes from without. If you're unwilling to discipline yourself, you will, by default, be disciplined by someone else. And you have to understand, if I'm disciplined in one area, if I'm disciplined in my eating, that can carry over into my training in the gym. If I'm disciplined in my eating in my training in the gym, that can carry over into my finances because I have these things that are reinforcing a picture of myself that does what I say, even when I don't feel like it. Discipline is better than motivation because motivation is predicated on, meaning based on your feelings, whereas discipline is based on making a decision one time and managing that decision day in and day out. If I'm truly disciplined, I can make a decision once. I can say, I'm going to do X, and I never have to make that choice again unless I realize that X is not taking me towards my goal. I'm going to wake up every day at 6 a.m. My alarm is going to go off. No matter what, I will wake up at 6 a.m. no matter how I feel, sick, whatever else. I'm going to form this habit. And then I wake up at 6, and I wake up at 6, and I wake up at 6, and finally my brain starts to say, what I said is what I do. What other thing can I say and do? And then from there, it's go as far and take this as high as you want to, because I am reinforcing confidence, building trust. I am building character with myself. So when I go look in the mirror, I know that what I say is what I do, no matter how I feel, regardless of my emotions, no matter what may come that day. I'm not waiting for motivation. I am living based on discipline. Make sure you check out episode 15, Killing Yabbits.